Alright, what's up, everybody? Back with another edition of Everyday Hoops. Hope you guys having a good one. Today we have another episode of the Look-In series, and today we're talking about the Toronto Raptors. They were the first team eliminated in the NBA play-in tournament. We're going to talk about them. If you haven't watched any of the first 10 episodes of the Look-In series, go back and watch them. I put them in a playlist. So, yeah, if you're watching this one, you can just go over the playlist and look at all of them and just run through them. But yeah, thank you guys for the views on the vids and the shorts recently. Really appreciate it. If you do have content, consider subscribing, like, turn on notifications, all stuff like that. Really appreciate it. It really helps out a lot. And yeah, let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into it. The Toronto Raptors this season, they finished at 500, 41-41, ninth in the East. They're in the NBA play-in tournament and lost to the Bulls, the 10 seed. And the Raptors now finish, I think, as the 10 seed technically in the standings, even though they had a better record than the Bulls and all that stuff. So yeah, very kind of disappointing year after last year. They kind of shocked everybody. The year before that, of course, they're in Tampa Bay and all that stuff. They were really bad. Got Scotty Barnes 4th overall. And then had a big comeback season last year. Pascal Siakam was amazing. Fred VanVleet became an All-Star. Scotty Barnes on Rookie of the Year. And they look really good. They're all the way up to the 5 seed in the East. Lost in the first round of Philly. But was projected to come back this year basically with the same team and everyone 1 year better. Projected to still be in the playoffs. And they had a really weird season. I mean, defensively, they're solid. They, of course, force a lot of turnovers. Everyone on their team is 6'9" with 7-foot wingspans, it feels like. But their defense was solid. Their offense is very shaky at times, though. Their three-point, they don't have any consistent, really, three-point shooters. Their half-court offense is not that great. A lot of their offense comes from creating turnovers and getting out in transition and stuff like that. Some of their players have pretty not the jumps you expect. Yeah, just a very weird season for Toronto. Kind of a little bit of a step back, it seemed like. And now they have a pretty big offseason coming with how they want to take this team and what they're going to do. Speaking of the individual players, Pascal Siakam, I think, had a pretty underrated year. I feel like he's only not going to make it All-NBA just because they didn't make the playoffs. So the Raptors were a playoff team. He for sure probably would have been in the All-NBA. Finished averaging 24 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. He shot 48% from the field, 32% from 3. Just a really good year. I mean, he keeps getting better and better. He's really good. Unfortunately, he did miss a couple free throws in that play-in game late that would have tied the game, which is, by the way, a crazy call by the refs to change that call to a shooting foul. I don't know what that was about, but it doesn't matter because Pascal missed 2 of those 3 free throws. But, I mean, Pascal's really good. You know, you should know that by now. Pascal Siakam is really good. Yeah, and he's a very big piece of the Raptors team. We're going to see how long he stays in Toronto. So I'll talk about that a little bit more later. Fred VanVleet, kind of a disappointing year after making the All-Star team last year. Kind of disappointing. He had some good moments, obviously, but just didn't have the same impact, you know. Stats, he averaged 19, 4, and 7 with almost 2 steals. The shooting, though, he shot 39% from the field, 34% from 3. But also a lot of that was because their offense is very weird, where he was kind of the only shooter out there. Like, they usually have Fred VanVleet shooting, and then a bunch of just guys that can shoot threes, but aren't really. You want them to take threes rather than get to the rim. So Fred VanVleet has to take a lot of like rear contested deep 3-pointers. That's kind of where the efficiency is. But also, again, he still wasn't really that efficient, shooting 39% of the field. I mean, yeah. And he's coming into free agency this year. Away, most likely probably gonna leave Toronto. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know. I just think the Raptors are moving in a direction where they're probably going to go a lot younger. And a lot of things are going to happen this year. We'll talk about that a little bit later after I talk about all the players I want to talk about and stuff. OG Anunoby had a big year as well. He was in trade rumors for basically the entire first half of the NBA season. Didn't get traded. Still in Toronto. He finished averaging 16, 5, and 2 with almost 2 steals per game. He shot 47% from the field, 38% from 3. Really good two-way wing. Defensively, you know what he's going to bring. And then offensively, he's kind of become more confident taking his own shot. Getting his own buckets. His 3-point shot has developed a lot. And he's a very good young player that I'm not surprised the Raptors kept. The Raptors should probably keep OG because, yeah, he's a very, very good player. But honestly, if they do trade him, they're going to they get something pretty solid for OG. And then Scotty Barnes. One rookie of the year last year. A lot of people expected him to take a big jump. And he didn't really take that jump that people thought he was. But also, he didn't have a bad sophomore season. A lot of people think that he kind of fell off and had a bad sophomore year. I don't think he played that bad. I honestly kind of think he played very similar to his rookie year, which isn't bad. I mean, it's not big improvement, but it's not going backwards. He kind of just stayed kind of the same. He finished averaging 15, 6, and 4 with a steal. Shot 45% of the field, just 28% from three. Did have some moments where he did look, very not good. Also, the offense in Toronto didn't look that great in the half court because Pascal, Scotty, OG are kind of like the same-ish type of player. I feel like it's usually like OG trying to drive the rim, but Scotty's right there, and then Pascal. Like there's some times where Pascal's 1-on-1 going on top of the key. He's trying to get ISO, but then Scotty Barnes right there at the free throw line, and it's like what am I? And people don't really respect Scotty Barnes as a shooter, so people are like sagging off of him a lot and forcing him to shoot. And the Raptors offense is just cluttered, is what I would say. The Raptors offense just felt a lot cluttered because they didn't really have any shooters or real respectable guys out there that everyone was just kind of like, yeah, go ahead, Scotty, shoot. Go ahead, OG. Go ahead, Pascal. Go ahead, take your threes. Go for it. We'll live with it. But yeah, I think the discourse on Scotty Barnes got a little bit too much of like, oh, he fell off. Oh, but Scotty had a very solid season. That also could be because of the expectation, because he had such a good rookie year and kind of came out of nowhere and became everyone's favorite. That people thought he was just gonna instantly go from here to all star to that very quick. When it's usually not like that. Players take time. It's not that often that players second or third years become all star. It's star level players all of a sudden. That usually doesn't happen unless it's like a top tier elite player. It's gonna take some time for Scotty to get there and get him. He still has a lot of work to do. Still very young. He's only 21 years old, so relax. All right, relax on Scotty. Yeah, Nick Nurse, another guy. We have to talk about. He will be taking some time off after this season to kind of reflect and see if he wants to continue coaching Toronto. A lot of talks about them firing him, maybe going after a guy like Ime Udoka or something like that. See what happens. Houston really wants Nick Nurse. He's their top guy if he becomes available. We got to see what happens. But that's also a big reason why I think Toronto has a big kind of decision to make this offseason, what they want to do. Do they want to continue this team and continue trying to be a playoff team, maybe re-sign Freddie, Gary Trent, try to keep getting players like that and go for the playoff? Or maybe they start a little bit of a rebuild. And maybe not a full-on rebuild, trade everybody and let's get 30 draft picks, but maybe more of like a retool in a way where it's like we could still maybe kind of be competitive and keep some of the guys, but just go a little younger and change some things. Which is why I get to the point where Fred VanVleet, I feel like, is probably going to be gone. I won't be surprised if he's not a Toronto Raptor by the start of next season. I just think it's time for Freddie to kind of move on. I think a good contending or playoff team, I really love Freddie maybe as a six-man, I would think. I think he would really fit there. Gary Trent as well. I think has an option or is a free agent. We'll see what happens to him. I think a lot of teams are going to want him because he's a guy that a lot of teams, playoff teams want, just a shooter that's going to play defense, get some steals, stuff, be aggressive. So I'm excited those two leave. And then you got a lot of other guys that you got to think about. One, Pascal Siakam. Will he get traded? Probably not yet. But I do think a Pascal Siakam trade, I get the feeling it's coming soon. I'm not saying this offseason, as soon as things open up type of soon. I'm not saying that, obviously. But I won't be surprised if maybe by trade deadline next year or the year after, things aren't looking great in Toronto, and Toronto is kind of making a decision of wanting to rebuild. Won't be surprised if Pascal might be on his way out soon, and they try to build around Scotty, maybe OG, depending on what things happen. Maybe OG might be gone too, and then maybe this lottery pick that they get this upcoming year. Yeah, Toronto's in a very just weird spot. I don't know how to feel about it. I don't know, because I like this team kind of on paper to be a playoff team, but then you watch them play and you look at some of the things and you're like, can this team really work? Like, can this team really work and be consistent and get to the playoffs and be someone? Like, I don't know. The Raptors are very odd, weird, kind of to me. So I think they probably should move in a direction of not a full-on rebuild, trade everybody, let's change everything up, but more of a change in let's get a little bit younger, let's move some pieces around or two. Maybe we can try to stay competitive, But let's just try different things. I think for the Raptors, try different things and see how things go. I feel like, in my opinion, should be the direction of the Raptors next season moving forward. And looking at the draft this year, they're gonna have a lottery pick, and very interesting to see what they're gonna take because I feel like they can go for a few more options. They can go for a guard, a guy that maybe can handle the ball, or maybe a guy like Casey Wallace, or a guy like maybe take a chance on a Jalen Hood Shafino type of guy. I think would be very good for the Raptors, especially if they're considering moving on from Fred VanVleet. I think Jalen Hood Shafino could be a solid piece, or maybe a guy that can shoot and spread the floor. A guy like a Jet Howard or a Jordan Hawkins could be someone on their mind. Maybe even a guy that can go get a bucket, like a Bryce Sensabaugh or Keontae George. I think any of those routes would be very solid for Toronto. A point guard, that can come in and kind of control the offense, be a younger option at PG after Fred VanVleet leaves. And try to develop him with Scotty and them. A shooter, because I mean they absolutely, if they want to keep being competitive, a shooter should be their guy in the draft because they don't have many of those. A guy like J Howard or Draw Hawkins, or maybe another bucket getter, a guy that's like, with time's running down, give it to him and see if we can create a shot creator. A guy like a Bryce Sensabaugh or Keontae George type of player. I think any of those directions would be I would like for Toronto. For agency, they got to get depth because they really only run like 6 or 7 people out there, man. It's the starting 5. It's Gary Trent, maybe some Will Barton, some Chris Boucher, Preston Chua once in a while, and then it's like who do you want to run out there? Yeah, I'm very interested to see the Toronto Raptors are one of the team I'm not gonna be giving my full attention. But I'm gonna be keeping a little bit of an eye on just to see what things they do and what direction they kind of want to move in if they want to go to. Honestly, I honestly think if Nick Nurse leaves, if Nick Nurse doesn't want to be part of that anymore, I think that the Raptors will retool or change some things up. But I think if Nick Nurse comes back and it's like, all right, one more year or one more like this, then I think they're gonna keep their kind of trying to keep the same roster, try to be competitive, and try to push for another big playoff spot again. I won't be surprised if Nick Nurse probably a huge factor in what decision and how the Raptors' future will be. And yeah, I'm very excited to see it. That's it for today's episode. Hope you guys enjoy. Once again, if you do the content, consider subscribing, like, turn notifications, all stuff like that. I really appreciate it. Really helps out a lot. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.